Hello, I'm Shekhar Bapat. I'm the product manager for Data Catalog, working for Google Cloud, and I'm here to talk about Data Catalog for data discovery and metadata management. I'm going to be joined by Shruti Thaker from BlackRock towards the end of the presentation, and she's going to share their experience using Data Catalog for BlackRock purposes. So, what is Data Catalog? Data Catalog, simply put, enables users to discover, understand, and manage all their data assets. So data catalog, when we released it in beta, we got a lot of feedback from customers where they said this is great, this is like Google search for my enterprise data assets. But they told us that their data assets are not only in GCP, but they are spread across multiple silos, some on-prem, some in other clouds, and they wanted us to help them discover data across all their data silos. They wanted one unified single pane of glass, and that is what we deliver here today, an enterprise data catalog. But before I go into the details of the data catalog service, I want to talk a little bit about the genesis. Google faced this problem of too many data assets and how to discover the right data assets way before other companies did. And so Google internally built a data catalog, and that data catalog is a very scalable system. It indexes more than 100 million entries, and it's being used actively by tens of thousands of Googlers. Google also published a paper on this. It's called the Goods paper. You can easily find it. The Goods paper outlines a number of techniques and technologies. So this is the background. The data catalog service I'm going to talk about is our initiative to externalize the system that we built for ourselves. If there is one slide that captures the essence of what data catalog is today, it is this slide. So when we tried to build the data catalog, we wanted to do something different from what the traditional catalogs do. The traditional catalogs require users to do a lot of heavy lifting. They require users to register their data assets explicitly one by one. And the first thing we wanted to do is to automate the process. The goal here is to create a smart catalog. So data catalog automatically syncs the technical metadata from data sources like BigQuery, PubSub, and cloud storage. So if you create a new table in BigQuery, you don't need to register anything. Within 3 seconds, that table shows up in data catalog. So that's a very, very useful feature for a lot of our customers. The second thing that I want to highlight here is the auto tagging of PII data through our integration with DLP. So our customers tell us that they have thousands of tables, hundreds of columns in each table, and often the column names don't let on as to whether it has PII data or not. So DLP, as some of you might know, stands for Data Loss Prevention. It's a service in GA, and we provide integration with DLP that enables you to use DLP to scan your data. You can do a full scan of the data, or to save money, you can do sample scan. But DLP will identify the data. It puts semantics on the data. It says, aha, this is not just any number. This could be a social security number or a credit card number. And as a result, it's able to auto detect PII data. And DLP works in multiple modes. In one mode, you can redact the data. In another mode, you can obfuscate the data. But often customers do not want to change the data. They want to leave the data as is, but they want to identify the data. And this integration with DLP enables users to do exactly that. DLP identifies the data and creates tags to specify that this particular column is of type PII and this is the type of PII. Now, lastly, we got a lot of feedback from our customers that they wanted to get metadata from all their disparate data sources. So we modified our API to enable users to write metadata from any source. But we didn't stop there. We also created open source connectors and we have put them in GitHub. It's accessible to everyone. Using those open source connectors, users like yourself can ingest metadata from Hive, Oracle, SQL Server, Teradata, Redshift, MySQL, PostgreSQL. The list continues to grow. We have also added Vertica, Greenplum. And as you can see, we can also ingest with these connectors, we can also ingest technical metadata from BI tools like Looker and Tableau. The end result is that data catalog gives you a unified view of all your data assets, a single pane of glass to find them all. Right? A little bit about the data catalog architecture, because one of the questions that often comes up is that, how robust is this service? How global is this service? How scalable is this service? So we have launched data catalog in GA. We did that at the end of April. We have launched the service in 23 different regions and multi-regions. So it's a global service. and it provides metadata residency at rest. And there are many building blocks, and the three big building blocks are the real-time and batch syncers that bring metadata from various sources and put it in the data catalog. Then the metadata store itself, which stores all the metadata in the data catalog. So metadata store is just a transactional store. We use Spanner to build the infrastructure. As you know, Spanner is a globally distributed, strongly consistent database, so we have a very solid foundation. We also leverage the same Google search technology that powers Gmail and Google Drive. And that gives us search with access control built into it. Gmail, as you know, has more than a billion users. And so we know that this is a very scalable technology. So data catalog is built on this very strong foundation. In terms of innovation, what we really introduced that is new here is the concept of structured tags. So the traditional catalogs usually enable tags, usually enable users to put on tags, but those tags are simple text strings. And as a result, it is very hard to capture complex metadata. So we innovated and we said each tag actually can be schematized tag. But since schema is taken for data, we call them not schematized tag, but we call them structured tags. So here is an example. Here's an illustration of how the tags look like in our catalog. Each tag has multiple fields, and each field is of a different type. We support 5 different types. We support double, boolean, string, enumerated, and data. And as a result, you can create, for example, the tags here in this diagram on the left are applied at the table level. The tags on the top are applied at the column level. So our structured tags is supported even at the column level. And here is some illustration of how the tags can be used, because the user journeys that need to be supported, for example, one of the common things that happens when analysts come to work is they say, okay, did last night's ETL job run successfully? Do I have fresh data? And imagine if instead of, you know, pinging data engineering and asking them if they could actually put these structured tags in the data asset themselves. So in this illustration, I show a data ingestion tag, and the analyst, by looking at it, will know immediately that the last night's ETL job was completed normally. 100,000 records were processed, 100,000 were added, there were only 42 warnings, and there were 0 errors. And they do not need to actually, ping data engineering and keep asking them where it stands. Data governance can create tags which let users know what is the classification of this data. Is it public? Is it private? Is it confidential? Is it regulatory? Where in the life cycle is this data? Is it in test, in prod, in dev? If there is a retention time that is a constraint on this, who is the business owner, what's the corresponding on-prem ticket? So there is a whole bunch of what we refer to as business metadata that users need access to, and there is no easy way of providing this. People often ask me, what's the competition for the data catalog? And the answer is, interestingly, Google Sheets, Excel sheets, wiki pages, conference pages. Typically, the metadata is spread all over the place, and there is no easy way to make it available online, make it searchable. And our structured tags enable users to do exactly that. I have another example here for data quality. Now, often one of the big challenges analysts face is that they discover a data asset, but they have no idea as to what's the quality of this data. Is it actually approved? Is it usable? Is it mostly null? What's the cardinality? What's the mean, max, median? Data catalog tags enable you to compute all the data quality metrics and make it available as business data. The PII tags are kind of self-evident here, right? So in this example, I have 2 fields in the PII tag. One is the has PII, which is of type Boolean, and it's set to true here. The second is type PII. For the second column, it says, hey, it's an SSN. For the fourth column, it indicates that it's an email address. So the structured tags provide a very powerful, flexible, and generic way to capture all kinds of business metadata and make it available to your users. Okay? So let's talk a little bit more about the structured tags. If there is a structure to the tag, there has to be a way to specify the structure. So we have the concept of templates. We didn't want to call it schema, so we call them templates. So on the left, I show an example of a template where you can say, okay, and by the way, all of this is completely customizable. So if you as a user want to create a tag template and put 5 or 6 or 20 fields in it, you can do that. So in this example, I have this field called approved by data governance, and it is of type Boolean. And then I have data classification, which is of type enumerated. And in this enumerated type, for my example, I choose to define public, sensitive, confidential, and regulatory as possible choices. Now, you as a user can set your own choices. You can set your own enumerated types, right? So there is a data lifecycle that's also enumerated type. The delete by date, I mentioned a string here, but actually it can be date time now that we support date time. There is HASPI, there is Boolean. Those are the templates. Now, on the right side, I show the example of the tag that they created using this template. So in this case, approved by data governance is set to true, data classification is set to sensitive, etc. And as per the illustration, once you have a template, you can create tags using that template in the mold of the template, and then you attach it to individual data assets. So you can think of this as some sort of electronic sticky notes. Those are now applied to every data asset. So whenever somebody looks at a data asset, they get to see all the related metadata, right? Now, how do people discover the metadata? So the first thing is, we are Google. We like to think we know how to do search. So we enable users to do simple keyword search. So the business user can simply type a keyword and find the data asset. But the power users among you who actually want to do the drill down queries or the needle in a haystack query, for them, we also enable facet search, where you can specifically say, I want to limit my search to this project ID or these project IDs. I want to look at only BigQuery, or I want to look at only views where the column matches a keyword, or it has certain tag where tag has PI is true, or a combination thereof. You can create more complex query by combining it with and or, etc., or and not. So you have the full power of the search technology at your disposal. Okay? One of the really important things that I want to mention in our tagging is that everything is integrated with IAM. Security is built into data catalog from the get-go. So we have two personas here. We have data governor persona, and let's say in this case, data governor has full access to data assets in project A, B, and C. And we have another persona, data analyst, and data analyst has full access to data assets in project A, but metadata read-only access to data assets in project B, and no access at all to project C. Even though all the metadata resides in the search index, when the data analyst looks for data assets, they see a different view, because in the 500 milliseconds that we try to return results in, and we do like 98% of the time, we run probably 100,000 active checks or access control checks to figure out who can see what. And this is a really, really important point for many of our customers, especially the financial customers, banks, etc., because security is paramount and you cannot compromise that. And so, as I mentioned, we have it built into it. Now, building further on top of that security framework, right, the tags themselves are also access controlled. Right? So in this scenario, we have data governor persona who has access to three different tags, and the data analyst persona has access to only two of those tags. Because in many cases, we have seen customers, especially the data governance team, create tags where they put sensitive information and they do not want others to see this. And data catalog enables you to do that. So even the tags are also under access control. Now, the next thing that I want to mention is that we believe in a very open system. We believe that it's your metadata. You can do whatever you want to do with it. You want to bring in metadata from other systems, or you want to take metadata out, we enable you to do that. And in order for you to do this in bulk, as in bringing in large amounts of metadata from outside into our search index, or take out the metadata, we enable APIs, and we support 7 language libraries so that you can create all the action. Behind every UI, there is an API call. So everything is available through the API. And many of our customers actually have their own front ends also, and they use the API to power the backend, because this is a much more scalable and performant backend. And at this point, I would like to invite Shruti from BlackRock to share her experience using data catalog, the reasons why they chose to partner with Google, and how they achieved their objectives.
Thanks, Shekhar. Hi, I'm Shruti Thaker. I work in active equities at BlackRock and I'm head of vendor data and alpha capture. I'm also the Google administrator for our Google Cloud instance in my team. So, why data catalog? Well, when we started our journey, bringing alternative data into BlackRock and making it available for our investors to use in their research and analysis, we started to find that the data that was coming in was very different to the more traditional financial data that already existed within BlackRock, within the data structures that were made available to us. So what we were seeing were lots of very dynamic schemas, lots of different formats, and vendors, and working with vendors that really didn't connect with financial industry as a rule. So the data was coming in lots of different file types as well. On the other side, we had a spectrum of users. We had people both geographically diverse from San Francisco to Hong Kong, from Sydney to London, as well as people who had different levels of comfortableness with how to get to the data. We had people who were very, very comfortable just going into a server, going to a CLI environment, finding the file that they need, pulling it and analyzing it. On the other side, we had lots of users who really needed that interface, that front end, which allowed them to go in and search for data using keywords or tags, and then be able to find that data and then work with it. What we found was that we really weren't seeing something that could help us with both of these issues within BlackRock. And so we decided to go and talk to our colleagues at Google Cloud to see if there was something that they could help us with. So we started talking to Google Cloud in 2018, and we explained to them what we were trying to do. And luckily for us at that time, Shekhar was just putting data catalog into alpha. So we were able to get in there and talk to Shekhar and his team and explain what we were trying to do. And he showed us that it was possible to find a solution using Google Data Catalog. Because the catalog was in alpha when we started working with Google Cloud, it was possible for us to both help shape the product and find a solution that would work for us in tandem. One of the great things about the data catalog is that it's really well integrated into the Google Cloud ecosystem. So when you're looking at one part of this puzzle, which is the data catalog, you're not then having to build APIs or build connections in to other parts of Google. It's already connected to BigQuery, it's already connected to storage and compute. So it's quite easy for us to be able to come up with an integrated and complex front end, which would really provide our users a really powerful way to find and analyze data. We were also able to very simply create templates, both on the front end to start with, and then as our templates became more complicated, we worked with Shekhar and the team to put our templates into an Excel file, which we could then upload directly via Python. This actually made our lives a lot easier. And we were able to create tags as we wanted them. We were able to say, okay, well, we would like asset management as a tag. We would also like different sectors as tags, and we were able to put them in. There wasn't anything that was pre-created, which really gave us the freedom that we needed to develop our own solution. As the catalog has moved to the general access phase, new functionality has been added, including automatic tagging and tagging of sensitive information. We would like to start using that in the next iteration of our product. Following is a short demo of the product that we built using Data Catalog as our engine.
Hi, and welcome to Data Bodega. Data Bodega is an application that was created on GCP, which relies on the GCP Data Catalog for its core functionality. Data Bodega allows users to use an intuitive and user-friendly interface to try and find all of the data sets available to them and to do further simple analysis where possible. When someone logs into Data Bodega, they'll be able to see all of the data sets split out by category into different sections. Each one of the tiles in each section consists of a data set. Users can also split by sectors, regions, or style. The other way that people can search the data is by looking at the intelligent search on the left-hand side. Here they can enter a keyword, or if they know the table name or data set, the names of those table names or data sets, or they can do a filter search. The filter search allows people to use commonly thought of tags and use those to do searches. For this demo, we're going to do a search using intelligent search. I'm going to look for census data. This is data from the last publicly available census in the US. As you can see, we've got two data sets, the postal codes and the demographics. If we click on geospatial postal codes, it will open up the data set and show me all of the tables available there. As you can see, there's only a single data table available. If I click on that, on the right-hand side, you will notice that we now see a preview of the table, as well as some information that allows the user to understand how fresh the data is, and also if they need permission to the data in GCP, in BigQuery, what project name to ask for permission for. You can see that we can also show people the top 50 rows of each data set that is available. This is refreshed on a nightly basis. And the only point of this is to allow people to have an idea of what the data set looks like, what kind of numbers are involved, etc. You can also download this data set as a CSV if needed. The other tab available here is the Analysis tab. If you click on here and the data set has time series data, there will be some simple graphing that can be possible. You can also, however, open the data directly in BigQuery if you have access already in Tableau, or you can download the data dictionary if that's available. The way we created this application is we went into Data Bodega project in GCP, we called it Mosaic, and we went and created a bunch of data tag templates. Now, the reason we created so many was that we needed to have multi-select on some of our tags, such as region or country. And the only way to do that was to create a region or country tag template and have Boolean yes or no on there. Fortunately, we were able to work with Google to help us create the tag templates in a format in Excel, which we were able to then just upload into GCP using Python. This made things a lot easier and quicker than creating the tag templates on the front end. We then went through all of our data sets in BigQuery and tagged all of them using these tag templates. The next step is to start auto-tagging data sets as they come in and are onboarded using various data attributes that are made available to us at the point of onboarding. This is a quick foray into what can be built using Data Catalog. We've found it incredibly useful to be able to go in and connect and allow users to go in and search for data without knowing the name of the data set or knowing particular attributes of the data set and only knowing roughly the topic that they're looking for. We hope to work further with Google to create more functionality and more depth to our product using Data Catalog.
Thank you, Shruti, for that wonderful presentation and the demo. So what are the next things you can do as a user? The first thing I want to point out is that you can launch Data Catalog right away. There is no setup required. Data Catalog indexes all the metadata in the background continuously. So all you need to do is to go to this particular link, the console.cloud.google.com, go to Data Catalog. You can select a project that you want to start using, just enable the API, and all the data assets are already discoverable to you, just with a simple keyword search or the powerful search language. You can also use DLP to auto tag PII data in Data Catalog. The DLP integration is available through the DLP UI. It is also available through the API. And this link gives you the details of how to do this to tag PII data at the table level as well as at the column level. And lastly, if you are one of the users who has data scattered in all these different silos and you're finding it really, really hard to discover those data assets, you can use one of our connectors. And all the connectors are listed in the Google's GitHub repo. You can download them, they're open source connectors, and you can start using them right away. Happy data discovery journey.